A quiet question drifts into night's cold air. What would it feel like to fall asleep beside a small fire during the Ice Age, listening to the soft crackle that gently settles your mind? This gentle curiosity is your hook, easing you into a night meant for calmness and slow breathing. You are safe here, and everything around you softens as we begin. Before we wander deeper into this world, may I ask where you are listening from, and what time it is there? I hope the atmosphere around you is beginning to feel warm and steady. Before we move forward, if you enjoy stories like this, you're welcome to tap like, subscribe, and share your thoughts. It helps keep these calming histories going. Tonight, imagine yourself wrapped in a sense of stillness. The wind outside is faint and distant, and the small fire near you glows gently. Nothing rushes, nothing demands attention. You are simply settling into a moment designed to make your eyelids feel a little heavier. Families of the Ice Age also cherished these quiet evenings. After long days of travel or gathering, they sat close together, protecting each other from the cold. Their shelters, simple and hand-built, felt warmer when everyone breathed the same soft rhythm. Some nights were clear, with stars shimmering above the snowy plains. Other nights were covered in a soft haze of drifting frost. But always, the fire played a calming role, a warmth allowed by the mercy of the one who created fire's glow and made it useful to humankind. It was a comforting companion in a world shaped by winter. As you listen, take a slow breath. Let the gentle pace settle around you. Early humans moved through their evenings with the same kind of patience. They repaired tools, adjusted hides, and checked on one another. Tasks were slow and steady, never hurried. Every movement in the shelter carried a quiet purpose. Someone might shift a log closer to the fire. Another might smooth the edge of a stone tool. Children dozed near the warmth, learning the rhythm of nights just like this one. Here is a small reminder to relax your shoulders and let your jaw loosen. Even stories from thousands of years ago can help you soften into comfort. Far from the noise of modern life, these families lived by listening. They listened to the wind, to each other's breathing, and to the low crackling of fire. None of these sounds demanded action. They simply existed, guiding the mind toward rest. When darkness grew deeper, conversations faded. A parent might speak softly to a child, teaching them about tracks in the snow or safe paths for tomorrow's travel. Wisdom was passed gently, woven into the calm of night. And as the stars drifted overhead, the plains settled into their quietest hours. The air was cold, but within the shelter, a shared warmth made the night feel manageable. You might feel that same sense of ease beginning to settle in your chest now. Let this be another gentle reminder to breathe more slowly. With every exhale, imagine the cold world outside shrinking away, leaving only the calm inside the shelter. Some Ice Age nights were spent planning the next day's movements. Others were simply for resting. The calm encouraged reflection, not urgency. People understood that surviving the cold required patience and unity. The ground beneath the shelter was firm and chilled, but softened by layers of hides. As the fire dimmed, its glow flickered across the walls. Shadows stretched and softened, moving in a quiet pattern that lulled tired minds toward sleep. Listen to the soft rhythm of this moment, just as they listened to the rhythm of their world. The night didn't rush them, and it doesn't rush you now. As embers settled, adults made sure everything was ready for the night. Water skins placed close, tools gathered, warm coverings pulled up higher. Every action reflected care. Another gentle reminder: allow your breathing to match the slow, steady pace of this ancient night. Let the heaviness in your body guide you deeper into comfort. Outside, the plain stretched wide, nearly silent except for a faint wind brushing over snow. Inside, warmth lingered, giving families the strength to rest and prepare for tomorrow. And as you rest here with them, you might notice your thoughts slowing. The night asks nothing from you except to drift, gently and steadily, into the quiet. The story does not need a conclusion tonight. It simply rests, just as the Ice Age families rested, wrapped in calmness as the fire softened into gentle light. Before dawn breaks, a gentle stillness rests across the Ice Age plains, and the world feels suspended in a moment between night and morning. This is the hour when the air is coldest, yet also when calmness is at its deepest. You may begin to sense that same quiet settling around you as we step into this early morning scene. The first hint of light barely touches the horizon, but families are already stirring in soft, unhurried motions. No one rushes. The cold teaches patience, and the dark teaches stillness. Inside the shelter, the breath of each person rises in faint clouds, drifting upward like slow-moving mist. A few embers glow in the fire pit, dim but alive, a warmth allowed only by the will of the one who makes warmth possible. Someone leans forward to feed the fire gently, coaxing it back into a soft, steady glow. The crackle is quiet, rhythmic, and soothing, easing the transition from sleep to wakefulness. Furs rustle as people sit up, layering themselves against the cold. These layers are stitched with careful skill, each piece shaped across many seasons. In the early light, the textures look soft and familiar, carrying the comfort of shared effort. As they rise, the quiet inside the shelter remains unbroken. There is a sense of understanding in the air. The morning will be long, and the work will be steady, but it begins with softness. No harsh sounds, no sudden movement, just gentle preparation for another day. Here is a small reminder to breathe gently. Let your breath match the slow awakening of this ancient morning. Parents check simple tools laid near the entrance. Stone blades, wooden handles, small pouches of gathered plants. Each item has a purpose, shaped slowly over time, just as the people themselves have been shaped by the land. Children blink sleep from their eyes, pulling blankets closer for a few more moments. For them, waking is gradual, as natural as watching the first line of light rise across the snowy ground. Their world is slow by design, and so is this morning. Outside, the air is crisp and pale. Snow crunches softly underfoot as someone steps out to scan the horizon. There is no urgency, only awareness. The land must be read carefully each day, and these early moments offer clarity. Inside, others tidy the space with quiet movements. A small pouch is tied. A hide covering is straightened. A water skin is checked. Even simple actions help strengthen the rhythm of the morning. Let this serve as another gentle reminder to settle your shoulders. Let the stillness of this Ice Age dawn melt into your own space. The fire begins to brighten now, its warmth slowly pushing back the cold. Shadows shift across the shelter walls in long, gentle strokes. The contrast of cold air and warm light creates a peaceful balance. As warmth builds, conversation begins in soft murmurs. Not chatter, but practical notes about the day. Which direction the group will travel. What signs were noticed the day before. Quiet planning wrapped in steady calm. Even animals respond to the early hour. Far in the distance, a muffled rustle signals movement on the plains. Nothing startling. Just another part of the morning's tapestry. The families listening have learned to understand the land without fear. Another reminder arrives, just like a calm breath placed into the story. Allow your mind to slow, letting each image drift gently past. Breakfast is not elaborate. A handful of dried plants, perhaps a small portion of stored food, shared evenly and without fuss. The cold makes hunger quiet, and the simplicity of the meal reflects the simplicity of life. Outside again, the horizon brightens. The first true colors of dawn spill across snowdrifts, turning them pale gold. For a moment, the plains look softer, as if the world itself is exhaling. Parents adjust the straps of small pouches. Children help pack furs. Elders wait with patient movements, saving their strength for the long walk ahead. Every person knows their part. The wind picks up gently, brushing against the shelter. Not harsh, just present. A reminder of the vastness beyond their small camp, and of the unity that keeps them safe within it. As the first full light stretches across the land, the morning feels complete. The cold remains, but the warmth inside each person grows stronger with purpose. There is no loud beginning to the day, no sudden shift. Only a smooth transition from rest to motion, from darkness to pale light, from stillness to the steady pace of living. And as this ancient morning unfolds, you may find yourself settling into its rhythm, feeling your mind soften, just as the Ice Age family softened into each new day with patience and calm. The land at the edge of the Ice Age morning stretches wide and pale, and as families begin their slow walk across it, a soft rhythm shapes the start of the journey. Walking is not rushed, nor is it seen as a task to conquer. It is simply the way life continues from one place to the next, with each step guided by cooperation. The ground beneath them is firm, sometimes frozen, sometimes softened by layers of frost, and the sound of their movement is muted, as if the earth itself is encouraging them to move gently. The early light casts a faint glow on the path, revealing distant ridges and clusters of shrubs that break the vast whiteness. Every adult keeps a steady pace, mindful of conserving energy for the long hours ahead, while children match the rhythm with shorter but eager steps. The walk feels like a shared breath across the plains. As the group continues forward, the landscape reveals quiet hints about the day. A shift in the wind, a pattern in the snow, or a trail pressed faintly into the ground. Each detail is read with practiced familiarity. No single person possesses all the knowledge. It is shared among them like a woven thread that holds the group together. Their understanding of the land is not forced or urgent but earned through countless days of observation. As they walk, elders occasionally point to certain features, offering simple explanations to the younger ones. These are not formal lessons, but gentle teachings carried by the calm of the journey. The land is their classroom, and every rise and hollow holds information. Even silence carries meaning, teaching patience and awareness without a word spoken. The cold air sharpens their senses, making every distant movement visible long before it can be heard. Herds of animals occasionally appear on the horizon, far enough to remain undisturbed, yet close enough to guide decisions about direction. The families do not approach too quickly. They understand the value of watching from afar before choosing their path. The goal is not confrontation but coexistence, moving harmoniously with the creatures that share the land. Tracks left behind in the snow serve as quiet notes about what passed through during the night. Some trails are fresh, others softened by wind. Adults crouch to examine the details, the spacing of steps, the depth of the print, the direction of travel. Children observe with wide eyes, learning the subtle patterns that help the group navigate without conflict or waste. Another gentle reminder settles into the rhythm of the walk, encouraging a slow, steady breath that matches the calm footsteps across the plains. In the Ice Age world, the land does not hurry for anyone, and the people walking upon it understand they must mirror that patience. Each breath of cold air feels grounding, connecting them to the space beneath their feet. Even their shadows stretch long and slow across the pale snow, as if reminding them that everything in this world moves at the pace nature allows. This deliberate rhythm is not tiresome. It is soothing, giving order to the day before tasks grow more demanding. Through this pace, they conserve strength, maintain unity, and remain attuned to subtle changes in the environment. As the group reaches a low ridge, they pause briefly, not to rest, but to look. From this higher ground, the view widens, revealing a mosaic of textures. Snow-dusted tundra, patches of coarse grass, frozen streams marked by winding cracks. The land appears vast yet familiar, like a trusted companion. Decisions about direction are made here with quiet nods rather than discussion. The elders lead not with authority, but with the calm assurance that comes from experience, while younger adults observe their choices, understanding that their own time to guide will come one day. The pause is short, but its stillness carries meaning, reinforcing the bond the group shares with their surroundings. When they resume walking, the world feels slightly more navigable, as if the land itself has offered guidance. As daylight strengthens, the cold shifts from biting to steady, wrapping around the group like a firm but manageable cloak. Each person knows how to move within this climate, how to adjust weight, how to layer warmth, how to shield the face from wind without losing awareness of the world around them. The children, though still learning, imitate the adults with surprising skill. They pull furs tighter, step carefully across icy patches, and listen for subtle cues in the footsteps ahead. Life in this environment shapes resilience naturally, teaching adaptability through the simplest actions. Every movement across the plains reinforces their understanding that survival is a collective effort, built not through strength alone but through cooperation and attentiveness. At times, the group passes clusters of low shrubs partially buried beneath snow. These plants, though modest, are noted with interest, as they sometimes hint at signs of nearby water or shelter. Adults gently brush away frost to inspect them, checking for roots or remnants that could be gathered later. The children watch closely, learning how to read even the smallest signs of life. The shrubs offer no immediate reward, but their presence informs decisions that may matter in the days ahead. This ability to interpret the landscape, to see meaning in details easily overlooked, is one of the quiet skills that sustains the group. It is subtle, steady, and deeply ingrained in their worldview. Here, another soft reminder drifts naturally into the rhythm of the story, encouraging the listener to loosen the body, release tension, and allow the breath to settle. Just as the families walk with ease across the frozen land, the listener can settle into a calm that comes from steady, unforced movement. The landscape may appear harsh, but within it lies a gentle cadence that supports the group's journey. Steps fall evenly, hearts move calmly, and minds remain open to the quiet signals offered by the world around them. As the day progresses, the group moves closer to a region marked by scattered boulders. These stones, shaped by time and frost, create natural markers in an otherwise uniform expanse. The adults recognize them from past travels, recalling nearby water sources and patches of soft ground suitable for rest. Children run hands along the cool, textured surfaces, feeling the history embedded in the rock. These formations offer more than navigation. They provide psychological comfort, breaking the monotony of endless white plains. The group often adjusts direction based on the position of the boulders, using them as landmarks that ensure they remain oriented. This familiarity provides stability, allowing them to walk with quiet confidence. As midday approaches, the sun sits lower than in warmer climates, casting long, faintly blue shadows across the snow. The light is gentle, not harsh, and reflects softly against the plains, giving the world a muted glow. Adults take note of these lighting changes, recognizing how the sun's position influences both direction and temperature. They adjust their layers subtly, tightening wrist coverings or loosening neck wraps depending on the wind's behavior. These small adjustments may appear trivial, but they ensure comfort across long distances. Meanwhile, children mimic the adults, gradually internalizing these habits until they become instinctive. The group moves forward with a collective understanding of how to balance warmth, movement, and awareness. Every so often, the group encounters tracks left by animals migrating through the plains. These markings tell stories about the world around them, where herds have passed, where predators have wandered, where opportunities for resources may lie. Adults crouch low, analyzing the spacing, direction, and freshness of each print. The younger members watch with focused eyes, learning how to distinguish one pattern from another. These signs shape their choices, subtly guiding the route they will take. The decision is never rushed. It is made with quiet deliberation, reflecting the group's respect for the land and its creatures. In this ancient world, understanding footprints is akin to reading a book of survival. Another gentle reminder floats in once more, suggesting that the listener allow their thoughts to drift lightly, just as the group drifts along the plains. There is no urgency in this story, no pressure for resolution, only the unfolding of a calm journey across a quiet world. The steady pace creates a soothing backdrop, encouraging deeper relaxation and softer breathing. The mind can wander safely within this landscape, supported by the gentle rhythm of movement and observation. As the group continues forward, the land becomes slightly uneven, shaped by long-forgotten glacier. The ridges and dips create a natural pattern that guides their path, offering shelter from stronger winds and revealing occasional pockets of untouched snow. Adults choose routes that balance ease of travel with safety, avoiding areas where ice may be thin or where the terrain becomes unstable. These choices are subtle, woven into years of experience. Children pay attention to the footsteps ahead, learning how to navigate this land with care and respect. Each decision reflects the quiet intelligence of people who know how to listen to the earth beneath them. Sometimes, during their walk, a distant sound rises, a muffled crack far across the plains, or the soft rustle of a herd moving unseen. These sounds are not alarming. They are simply part of the natural symphony of the Ice Age landscape. The group pauses briefly, tilting heads to interpret the meaning. Adults exchange glances, and a new direction may be chosen, one that keeps them aligned with safety and opportunity. The land is never silent, even when quiet. It speaks through wind, through movement, through echoes carried across frozen surfaces. The group hears these messages and adjusts accordingly, maintaining harmony with the world they inhabit. The children in the group often walk near the center, where they are shielded from the stronger wind currents that sweep across open areas. Adults position themselves strategically, forming a protective arrangement without needing to discuss it. This structure shifts fluidly throughout the day, ensuring that the most vulnerable members are cared for without breaking the overall pace. The arrangement feels instinctive, a natural expression of unity. As they move, adults occasionally point out features of the landscape: a frozen stream bed, a cluster of hardy plants, a distant ridge that marks a familiar route. Each observation becomes a lesson woven into motion. The sun continues its slow arc across the sky, never rising high but offering enough warmth to soften the air slightly. Shadows grow shorter, and the snow reflects light in a gentle shimmer. This part of the day often feels the calmest, as the cold becomes predictable and the path ahead remains clear. Adults take this time to discuss plans quietly: how far they intend to travel, where they might rest later, and what signs to watch for in the next stretch of land. These conversations are brief and practical, carried out in low tones that blend into the peaceful atmosphere of the plains. Another soft reminder slips naturally into the story, inviting the listener to ease the breath once more and allow the shoulders to drop. Just as the Ice Age families continue their steady walk without strain, the listener is encouraged to move through the narrative without effort, letting the calm settle deeper into the body. The pace remains gentle, the tone remains soothing, and the path continues to unfold slowly before us. As afternoon approaches, the wind shifts slightly, bringing with it a faint scent carried from distant vegetation. Adults recognize this as a sign of nearby terrain that may offer resources later in the day, perhaps sheltered ground, or a cluster of plants protected by rock formations. Though they will not reach that area immediately, the knowledge provides direction and reassurance. The group adjusts their path subtly, steering toward possibilities without expectation. They know that survival is built not on certainty, but on attentiveness to small clues the land provides. The journey continues with quiet determination. The group shadows stretch ahead of them now, long and gentle, guiding the eye along the path. Children begin to tire slightly, but adults maintain a pace that remains manageable. When a younger member stumbles, a hand reaches out automatically, steadying without breaking stride. These gestures are simple yet significant, showing how deeply cooperation shapes their lives. Walking the land together is not merely a means of travel. It is an expression of unity, trust, and shared resilience. As the day moves toward its later hours, the land grows softer in color. The white of the snow deepens into muted shades of blue and gray, and the plains begin to quiet in a new way. Animals retreat to sheltered areas, and the wind lowers its voice. The group senses this shift, understanding that evening approaches. They are not yet ready to stop, but they move with a new awareness, acknowledging the gradual transition of the day. The final reminder for this segment drifts in gently, encouraging the listener to relax into the slow descent of the story. Just as the Ice Age families adjust their pace as the day softens, the listener can allow the mind to settle further, embracing the calm of the moment. And as the group continues walking, the plains stretch peacefully around them, guiding them toward the promise of rest that awaits at day's end, though it has not yet arrived. The journey carries on with quiet purpose, and the story eases into the gentle rhythm of approaching evening, without urgency and without need for resolution. The afternoon light softens across the Ice Age plains as families begin the slow, deliberate work of gathering the essentials they will need. Nothing about this task is hurried. The land requires patience, and the people who walk it understand that gathering is less about collecting and more about observing. As they approach scattered patches of shrubs, frozen grasses, and areas where the snow thins, each adult steps with mindful awareness, searching for signs of useful plants or materials. The cold air moves gently around them, carrying the faint scent of snow and earth. Their hands, wrapped in carefully stitched coverings, brush the ground lightly to uncover what lies beneath. In this world, even the smallest root can hold significance, offering nourishment or helping bind a tool. Gathering is a slow dialogue with the land, spoken through gestures rather than words. Adults kneel beside dried plants emerging from the frost, examining stems, leaves, and textures shaped by the season. They understand which pieces still hold value and which have surrendered to the cold. By lifting soil gently, they determine whether roots remain firm and edible. Children watch closely, learning how to recognize these subtle signs. They imitate the movements of their elders, touching the plants with careful fingers. Although the cold stiffens the air, the act of gathering warms the rhythm of the group. Their patience is quiet, not forced. The land is not something to be conquered, it is something to be read. Each discovery, no matter how small, becomes part of the day's progress, reinforcing the idea that survival is built through many small, steady efforts rather than a single moment of fortune. Stone fragments scattered along slopes are examined with equal attention. Some pieces are too brittle, but others carry qualities ideal for shaping into cutting tools or scraping implements. Adults lift these stones, turning them in their hands to feel the grain and weight. A good stone will reveal itself through texture and sound, offering a sharp edge when struck correctly. Children listen to the soft tapping as adults test each piece, absorbing this knowledge through observation. These stones hold potential, not because they possess power on their own, but because the Creator has allowed humans the intelligence to shape them into helpful tools. Gathering such materials is not merely a task, it is preparation for the days ahead, ensuring the group maintains the means to repair clothing, prepare food, and create shelter when needed. As the group spreads out across the terrain, their movements remain connected. Every few moments, someone calls softly to share a find, or gestures for others to examine a promising patch of plants. Their voices stay low, blending with the calm environment. The land rewards those who move gently. Even the children understand this rhythm, stepping lightly so as not to disturb the fragile snow crust. They learn that gathering requires more than effort, it requires awareness. Taking too much from one area can weaken the region for seasons to come, so the group balances use with respect. They take only what is necessary, trusting that the land will continue offering, as long as they remain thoughtful. This quiet balance is one of the oldest forms of cooperation, shaped not by instruction but by shared experience. A soft reminder settles into the pace of the narrative, quietly encouraging the listener to breathe slowly and let the tension ease from the shoulders. Just as the Ice Age families gather without haste, the listener is invited to let thoughts move gently, without demand for speed or precision. The calm of the plains filters into the rhythm of the breath, guiding the body into deeper relaxation. The day may be filled with tasks, but each one unfolds with measured patience. Farther ahead, a cluster of low-growing plants reveals itself beneath a break in the snow. Adults approach with eager caution, recognizing the familiar shapes of roots that store energy even in winter. Using simple digging tools, they pry the ground open carefully, loosening the soil without damaging the plant. Once lifted, the roots are cleaned with snow and tucked into pouches for later use. The discovery feels like a reward for the morning's long walk. Children gather around, listening to the explanation of how these plants grow, where they flourish, and when to search for them. The teaching is woven naturally into the act, just as it always has been, transmitted quietly from one generation to the next. Nearby, another group examines branches preserved beneath layers of frost. These fallen limbs, hardened by cold, often hold shapes ideal for tool handles or simple shelter supports. Adults test each branch's strength by bending it gently, listening for the subtle creak that signals durability. If the wood is sound, it is trimmed and bundled. If it snaps easily, it is left behind to return to the earth. These decisions may appear small, but each one contributes to the long-term resilience of the group. Gathering wood is not about abundance. It is about suitability. The land offers many pieces, but only a few hold the right balance of flexibility and strength. Another microloop reminder glides into the story, encouraging the listener to settle deeper into the rhythm of calm exploration. The body may soften further, mirroring the group's methodical pace. The world of the Ice Age unfolds slowly, and this slowness becomes part of the comfort. Occasionally, the group discovers patches of ice formed over natural springs. These areas signal nearby water sources essential for travel. Adults break the surface carefully to fill containers, letting the cold water refresh their supplies. The children watch as the water flows, fascinated by how something so vital can remain hidden beneath layers of frost. The adults explain how to locate such springs by reading the patterns in snow depth, plant growth, and ground temperature. These teachings help ensure that even in harsh environments, the group can always find what they need. The water they gather is a reminder of provision, a quiet reassurance woven into the day. As the afternoon deepens, the group gathers near a patch of tall, dry grasses still standing despite the cold. These grasses are brittle but incredibly useful. They can be woven into mats, twisted into cordage, or used to insulate parts of their shelter. Adults harvest them carefully, binding the stalks into bundles while the children collect stray pieces scattered by the wind. The work is repetitive, soothing in its rhythm. The grasses rustle softly, creating a gentle sound that drifts across the plains. The quiet industry of the group mirrors the calm energy of the landscape. The sun begins to dip toward a lower angle, casting long shadows across the snow. The light becomes warmer in tone, even though the air remains cold. These changing colors help the group judge how much daylight remains. Adults quicken their assessment slightly, not rushing, but ensuring they gather the most essential items before evening arrives. The children sense this subtle shift and adjust their pace accordingly. The group remains cohesive, moving as a single, steady unit. Another soft reminder slips into the narrative, nudging the listener to slow the breath again and allow the mind to drift without resistance. The tasks of the Ice Age world are simple, but simplicity carries its own form of peace. The gathering continues without tension, each movement reflecting purpose wrapped in calmness. At times, the group works in silence, communicating through nods or gestures. The silence is not heavy but comfortable, reflecting a unity that requires little explanation. The land, too, participates in the quiet, offering the faint crunch of snow, the whisper of wind, and the occasional call of a distant animal. These sounds form a natural blanket of ambience that shapes the emotional texture of the day. In this peaceful space, gathering becomes a meditative act, grounding and intentional. Families move toward a low slope where stones suitable for fire starting often rest. These stones must be dry and shaped just right, capable of producing sparks when struck together. Adults test several pieces before choosing a few that feel reliable. These stones will later help sustain fires, offering warmth and safety when the night grows cold. Their usefulness is not inherently within them but in the system the Creator placed in nature. Materials that respond to human skill and create warmth when handled properly. The children continue learning by doing. They carry lighter bundles, gather smaller stones, and help inspect the ground for signs of edible plants or durable materials. Their participation is meaningful, not symbolic. Even modest contributions strengthen their confidence and familiarity with the land. Adults encourage them with gentle nods, reinforcing their growing abilities. This approach ensures that each new generation becomes more attuned to the landscape and its rhythms. Another microloop reminder drifts in softly, inviting the listener to ease deeper into the calm. The steady pace of gathering mirrors the natural slowing of thoughts at day's end. The story stretches gently across time, encouraging relaxation without forcing it. As they gather, the group remains alert to possible animal trails. These trails reveal where herds have traveled and where resources might be found tomorrow. Adults study these patterns with practiced eyes, noting the directions and freshness of the prints. This information shapes their plan for the next day, but no decisions are finalized yet. They simply gather clues, placing them mentally alongside the provisions they now carry. The land is continuously offering guidance, and the group listens with quiet awareness. Near a rocky outcrop, The adults find patches of flint partially buried beneath the snow. Flint is invaluable for toolmaking, providing sharp edges when shaped. They chip off small pieces carefully, listening for the crisp sound that signals a strong core. Once the right fragments are collected, they store them securely. These stones will be shaped in the evening, becoming blades for cutting meat, scraping hides, or preparing plants. Gathering these materials ensures that the group stays equipped for daily survival. The daylight begins to thin, and a gentle calm settles into the group's movements. They shift from active searching to reviewing what they have found: roots, grasses, wood, stones, water, and various small but essential resources. Nothing is taken lightly, and every piece holds purpose. They move closer together now, signaling the transition from gathering to returning toward shelter. As the final light of the afternoon stretches across the plains, the group begins their walk back with slow, steady steps. Their pouches and bundles feel balanced, filled not with excess but with what is necessary. The land has offered enough for the day, and their gratitude is reflected in their quiet demeanor. The journey home feels lighter, shaped by the assurance that they have prepared well for the evening ahead. And as the plains fade into the soft hues of approaching dusk, the story narrows into a gentle descent, guiding the listener into deeper calm. There is no strong ending, only the peaceful continuation of life's rhythm, carried on the steady steps of families who understand the land and walk it with harmony. Inside the shelter, the cold evening air settles into a gentle stillness as families begin the slow, steady craft of toolmaking. This is not loud work, nor rushed work. It is a patient rhythm shaped by years of practice, with each tap of stone against stone forming part of a quiet symphony. The glow of the fire provides just enough light to see the edges of the materials, casting warm shadows across hands that move with deliberate care. Toolmaking in the Ice Age is not a dramatic moment. It is a soft, meditative practice that allows the mind to loosen while the hands remain focused. The air carries the faint scent of smoke, and the faint scraping of stone becomes a soothing reminder that progress often emerges from small, repeated motions. Adults sit in a loose semicircle, selecting flint and other stones gathered earlier in the day. They feel the surfaces, testing each piece for strength, weight, and potential. A good piece of flint will respond with a crisp sound when struck correctly, sending thin shards flaking away in controlled patterns. The adults understand this sensation instinctively, recognizing which angles produce the cleanest edges. Children watch with stillness, mesmerized by the precision. They do not yet shape their own blades, but they absorb every movement, learning how patience transforms raw materials into tools that sustain the group. The firelight dances across the stones, highlighting subtle textures that reveal how each fragment will break. Slow scraping motions accompany the shaping of handles made from wood gathered earlier. Adults smooth the surfaces with small flakes of stone, removing rough patches while preserving the natural curve of the branch. The wood does not resist. It yields softly under careful hands. Tool handles must feel comfortable, balanced, and strong enough to withstand repeated use. This shaping process is done slowly, with pauses in between movements to examine progress. The adults run their fingers along the grain, judging how the handle will fit into a palm, how it will hold during a cut, and whether it needs reinforcement. In these moments, craft becomes a form of quiet reflection, blending focus with calmness. The children lean closer when adults begin binding the tool heads to the handles. Fibers prepared earlier, strips of hide or braided plant matter, are soaked briefly to increase flexibility. Then they are wrapped around the connection point with a deliberate tightness that secures the blade. These bindings look simple, but they are critical. Too loose, and the tool becomes unsafe. Too tight, and the binding may snap. Adults adjust the tension carefully, testing the movement of the blade without forcing it. Children observe with wide, attentive eyes, learning that even the smallest details can determine the success of a tool. The binding process teaches that balance is as important as strength. Here, a gentle reminder encourages the listener to soften their breath and let the shoulders ease downward. The pace of toolmaking mirrors the calming rhythm of evening, offering a quiet space to drift and relax. The steady tapping and scraping become background sounds that settle into the mind like soft footsteps in snow. Adults continue shaping points, scrapers, and cutting edges with practice skill. Each tool has a purpose: scraping hides, preparing food, cutting wood, or crafting clothing. None of the tools are extravagant. They are functional, reliable, and made with the intention of easing daily tasks. The stone fragments that fall to the ground are examined briefly. Some can be sharpened further into small blades or used for delicate tasks. Nothing is wasted. Every piece contributes in some way, reflecting the group's efficient relationship with the resources provided to them. The fire crackles softly as new embers form, allowing warm shades of orange to paint the shelter's interior. The light flickers across the faces of the adults, revealing calm concentration. Their breathing remains steady, matching the quiet rhythm of their hands. The children sit close, warmed by the fire and the presence of their family. They feel safe in this environment, knowing that each tool crafted tonight will support them tomorrow. The atmosphere glows with a sense of unity, created not through spoken words but through shared purpose. Another microloop reminder drifts subtly into the story, suggesting the listener allow the jaw to relax and the body to lean into comfort. The slow repetition of shaping stone creates a hypnotic flow that gently anchors attention without requiring effort. As the adults continue their work, some begin repairing older tools. Scrapers dulled by heavy use are retouched, giving them new edges. Broken handles are replaced, bindings are checked, and any small cracks are reinforced with fresh material. This repair process carries a sense of continuity. Tools are not used once and discarded. They are cared for, improved, and adapted. The skill of maintenance becomes just as important as the skill of creation. Children observe these repairs closely, learning how to recognize signs of wear and how to respond with thoughtful adjustments. The shelter is quiet except for the rhythmic tapping of stone, the rustle of hides, and the gentle shifting of feet against the ground. The group does not rush. Toolmaking unfolds in layers, each step building on the last. The adults work with an understanding passed down through generations, shaped by countless evenings like this one. Their focus is patient and deliberate, reflecting a deep connection to their craft. In this calm atmosphere, even the simplest tool becomes a testament to knowledge accumulated over time. The younger members occasionally ask soft questions, curious about how a particular stone was chosen or why one shape differs from another. Adults answer in low, steady tones, explaining the reasoning behind each choice. These responses are not grand lessons but quiet guidance woven into the flow of work. The children learn that craftsmanship is not only about technique, it is about understanding the nature of materials and listening to the land that provides them. Another gentle reminder surfaces, inviting the listener to breathe more deeply and let the thoughts drift at a slower pace. The steady hands working in the firelight reflect a calmness that can be mirrored in the listener's own mind. As stone chips scatter lightly across the floor, their patterns form a kind of natural mosaic. Some flakes will be reused tomorrow, while others will simply return to the earth. Every piece has served its purpose, contributing to the creation of something necessary. The adults take a moment to brush aside the fragments, clearing space for the next step of their work. This simple act of tidying adds to the soothing rhythm of the evening, creating a sense of order. The fire continues warming the interior, softening the shadows. The crackling grows quieter as new wood settles into embers. The light dances along the curved walls of the shelter, creating an atmosphere that feels secure and familiar. Families have gathered in spaces like this for generations, shaped by the cold outside and the warmth found within. Toolmaking becomes a nightly tradition, anchoring their routines and strengthening their bonds. Adults shift their attention to smoothing tool surfaces. Using small stones, they buff edges and refine shapes until the tools feel balanced. This step is as important as the initial shaping, ensuring the pieces will function efficiently. The children test the smoothness by running their fingers gently along the handles, learning what a well-crafted tool should feel like. The adults smile quietly, encouraging this curiosity that will one day turn into competence. Another soft reminder appears, suggesting the listener let their breathing fall into a gentle cadence, matching the slow motions of the craftspeople in the story. In the corner of the shelter, someone begins weaving plant fibers into cordage. The repetitive twisting creates a soothing pattern, each strand passing over and under with predictable ease. This cordage will later secure tools, tie bundles, or reinforce parts of the shelter. The sound of the fibers rubbing together adds another layer to the evening's quiet symphony. Adults occasionally exchange tools, examining one another's progress and offering subtle nods of approval. This cooperation reinforces trust within the group. Each person contributes to the overall efficiency, and no one is left to struggle alone. In this world, shared effort is essential. Solitude in work is rare, replaced by a collective rhythm that strengthens the group's ability to endure the harsh environment outside. The cold wind outside rustles gently against the hide coverings of the shelter, but inside, the warmth remains steady. Children begin to grow drowsy, lulled by the soft sounds and the consistency of the evening's activity. They rest their heads on furs, still watching the adults work with half-closed eyes. The calmness of toolmaking becomes a lullaby shaped by movement instead of melody. As the tools near completion, adults inspect each piece carefully, turning them in the firelight. They check edges, bindings, and balance. These final examinations ensure reliability. Tools crafted tonight may help gather food, prepare materials, or protect the group in the days ahead. Their usefulness is made possible through skill, patience, and the natural order placed in the world that allows humans to shape materials thoughtfully. Another microloop reminder encourages the listener to soften deeper into the narrative, letting the slowing atmosphere guide the breath. The final touches are made, bindings secured, blades sharpened, handles polished. The adults place the finished tools neatly in a designated area, ensuring they remain accessible for tomorrow's tasks. The shelter grows quieter as the work winds down. The children are now fully relaxed, their breathing soft and steady. As evening settles into deeper night, the fire dims to a gentle glow. The group sits together in calm silence, the work completed, the tools ready. This peaceful ending is not a conclusion but a continuation of their rhythm, one that will resume tomorrow with the same quiet dedication. And as the warmth of the fire lingers, the story eases into a soft pause, offering rest without needing resolution. As night deepens across the Ice Age plains, families begin preparing their evening meal with the same calm care that shaped every part of their day. There is no rush, no sense of urgency, only the steady rhythm of practiced movements. Inside the shelter, the fire has brightened from early attending, its warmth permitted by the natural laws set in place that allow heat to spread gently through the space. Adults unwrap small bundles gathered during the day, revealing roots, dried herbs, or pieces of preserved food. The simplicity of these ingredients reflects the landscape they inhabit. Meals are never extravagant. They are functional and comforting. The crackle of the fire provides the gentle soundtrack to their work, creating a peaceful environment where each step unfolds naturally, guiding the mind toward rest as the evening progresses. A shallow stone bowl is placed near the center of the shelter where the firelight can reach it. Adults begin rinsing roots with snow, rubbing away dirt with quiet, deliberate motions. The children assist by sorting pieces into small piles, learning which parts soften well when warmed and which require longer preparation. These moments become lessons in both survival and patience. The fire's glow illuminates the textures of each root, revealing subtle patterns shaped by the cold. Adults cut the roots into manageable pieces using tools crafted earlier, creating small chunks that release a faint earthy scent when warmed. Even the aromas are gentle, rising slowly into the air. The process feels unhurried, designed to ease both body and mind into the quiet of the coming night. Nearby, another group works with strips of dried meat collected from previous hunts. The meat has been preserved through natural drying methods that rely on cold air and consistent airflow. Adults soften the pieces by warming them near the fire, turning them slowly to prevent scorching. The children watch with fascination as the meat transforms from rigid to pliable, a reminder of how the environment itself participates in food preservation. Once softened, the meat is cut into smaller sections to share evenly. These portions carry not only nourishment but reassurance, representing the combined effort of the group. The scent that rises is mild and smoky, blending harmoniously with the earthy aroma of the roots, forming a calming mixture that signals the approach of rest. As the ingredients warm, adults add water gathered earlier from springs beneath the ice. The bowl fills slowly, and steam rises in delicate ribbons, swirling upward before fading into the cool air. This steam softens the interior of the shelter, creating a mild humidity that contrasts with the dryness of the plains outside. The sound of the bubbling water is subtle, almost like a quiet breath. Adults stir the mixture with sticks shaped for cooking, ensuring even heating. The roots begin to soften, blending with the meat in a modest but nourishing stew. This is not a feast, nor does it aspire to be. It is sustenance shaped by practicality and gratitude for what the land allows. Every movement is calm, measured, and rooted in tradition. A gentle reminder settles into the rhythm of the moment, inviting the listener to breathe a little slower, allowing the mind to drift alongside the steam rising from the bowl. Just as the family settle deeper into evening, the listener can settle deeper into comfort, carried by the softness of the unfolding scene. While the stew simmers, adults prepare small strips of hide to create makeshift pot holders, insulating their hands from the heat. They move with quiet expertise, wrapping the hide securely around the stone bowl's edges. Children observe how simple materials can serve multiple functions when used thoughtfully. Adults occasionally lift the bowl to adjust its position relative to the fire, ensuring it receives enough warmth without becoming unstable. These actions demonstrate a balance between caution and familiarity. The shelter becomes a workshop of shared purpose, every person participating at their own pace. The air continues warming gently, aided by the natural processes placed in the world that allow fire to radiate heat and soften the evening atmosphere. The stew thickens gradually, and adults begin tasting small portions with care. They check the texture of the roots, the tenderness of the meat, and the overall warmth of the mixture. Salt is not available in abundance, so flavor relies on the natural character of the ingredients. Even so, the outcome is satisfying. Children wait patiently, knowing the meal will be shared fairly. Adults ladle small servings into shallow stone dishes, distributing them evenly. The act of sharing the meal is as important as its preparation, reinforcing unity within the group. The aroma fills the shelter, soothing tired muscles and signaling the close of the day. As families begin eating, the shelter fills with quiet contentment. There is very little conversation, not because silence is required, but because peacefulness has settled naturally over the group. The warmth of the food contrasts with the cold seeping in from outside, grounding the meal in both necessity and comfort. Children savor each bite, learning to appreciate the simple flavors shaped by their environment. Adults eat more slowly, conserving energy for tomorrow. The experience feels communal, unifying, and deeply calming, making the meal as restorative as the rest that will follow. Another microloop reminder moves softly through the story, encouraging the listener to soften their shoulders and allow the breath to ease further. The stillness inside the shelter mirrors the stillness that can settle inside the listener, creating a quiet bridge between ancient nights and the present moment. After eating, adults begin cleaning with the same patience shown during preparation. They rinse the stone bowl with snow, letting the cold water wash away any remaining food. The motion is quiet and rhythmic. Children help by collecting discarded plant fibers and placing them near the fire to dry, preparing them for use as kindling later. This simple cycle of use and renewal reflects the group's understanding of balance. Nothing is wasted, and everything serves more than one purpose. The act of cleaning becomes another gentle transition, shifting the group from nourishment to rest. The fire burns steadily, its light softening the corners of the shelter. Adults adjust the wood placement to ensure the warmth continues through the night. The fire's glow illuminates their faces with a quiet amber hue. Shadows move calmly against the walls, creating a soothing pattern. The shelter feels safe, warmed by the natural processes that allow fire to persist when tended thoughtfully. Children curl closer to the warmth, their eyes growing heavy as digestion deepens their fatigue. Adults notice their drowsiness and smile softly. The peacefulness in the air wraps around the group like a comforting blanket. As the evening stretches on, families share small portions of dried berries gathered earlier in the season. These berries, preserved by the cold, provide a gentle sweetness that contrasts with the savory stew. The children especially enjoy this treat, their faces brightening slightly with each bite. Adults eat sparingly, knowing the supply must last through the colder months. The berries also carry meaning beyond taste. They represent foresight and cooperation, reminders that survival depends on preparation and teamwork. The sweetness is subtle, aligning perfectly with the quiet tone of the night. A soft reminder enters once more, inviting the listener to let thoughts drift gently like embers rising through warm air. The calmness of the meal preparation becomes its own form of rest, slowing the pace of the mind. Families now shift to organizing the space inside the shelter. Adults store unused materials in designated areas, ensuring everything is accessible for morning tasks. They wrap leftover food carefully, protecting it from cold exposure and small animals. Children assist by placing items near the entrance that will be needed early in the day. These organizational habits are not forced but inherited through generations of consistent practice. They reveal how structure and order help maintain peace and efficiency in environments that demand adaptability. The fire is tended again, this time more gently. Adults place smaller pieces of wood into the center, ensuring the heat lasts without creating too much smoke. They check the airflow in the shelter by adjusting hide coverings, maintaining ventilation while preserving warmth. These small acts show a deep understanding of their environment and the natural laws allowing fire to sustain them without posing danger. Children observe every movement, learning how to manage the delicate balance between warmth and airflow. As the warmth settles, adults sit quietly beside the fire, their backs straight but relaxed. They examine tools completed earlier, ensuring they have cooled properly and remain in good condition. This moment of reflection sits naturally between the tasks of the day and the rest of the night. The adult's breathing slows, mirroring the fire's gentle rhythm. Children lie nearby, drifting closer to sleep, their eyes half closed as they watch the shifting light. Another microloop reminder softly encourages the listener to breathe deeper, allowing the restful atmosphere of the scene to settle into their own space. The shelter grows quieter as the evening deepens. Only the occasional crack of wood breaks the silence, creating a soothing cadence that blends into the background. Adults finish the last of their tasks, rolling hides for bedding and ensuring that tools are placed where they will not be stumbled upon during the night. Children shift in their resting places, seeking comfortable positions. The calmness settles thicker now, shaped by the atmosphere of the shelter and the comfort of having eaten well. Outside, the wind softens, brushing against the shelter walls with a muted whisper. Inside, the firelight flickers gently, casting warm patterns across the floor. Adults adjust blankets around the children, tucking them in with quiet precision. There is no need for spoken reassurance. The warmth of the meal, the presence of family, and the security of the shelter convey everything necessary for comfort and rest. The night stretches calmly before them. As the fire continues burning, adults sit for a final moment of stillness, reflecting on the day's journey. They consider the land they crossed, the resources they gathered, and the tasks that await tomorrow. These thoughts are not burdens but anchors, grounding them in purpose. The food prepared tonight has given strength to their bodies and peace to their minds. It is a simple ritual, but one that reinforces continuity and resilience. Another soft reminder appears, guiding the listener to relax further into the slowing pace of the story. The quiet repetition of evening tasks becomes a gentle lullaby. The meal's warmth remains in their bodies as families settle onto bedding made from layered hides. The fire dims slightly as fresh embers settle, but enough heat remains to keep the shelter comfortable. Children finally drift fully into sleep, their breathing soft and even. Adults lie nearby, allowing their muscles to loosen. The stillness inside the shelter feels complete, shaped by nourishment, warmth, and shared effort. The final moments of the day unfold in silent unity. No dramatic ending arrives. No sudden shift breaks the quiet. Instead, the shelter rests in a steady glow, the fire a gentle companion to the families within. The story eases into a soft pause, carrying the listener deeper into calm without demanding any conclusion. Inside the shelter, after the evening meal has settled warmly in their bodies, families begin easing into a quieter rhythm, one shaped not by tools or gathering, but by gentle teaching. This is the time when the day slows into its softest moments, when adults pass knowledge to younger members in careful, unhurried ways. The fire flickers with a comforting glow, creating a circle of light where faces appear softened and serene. Children sit close, wrapped in hides, their minds open and calm after the day's long journey. The stories shared tonight are not grand tales meant to impress. They are practical lessons woven into gentle narratives. Through these soft explanations, children learn how to read the land, how to move safely through the world, and how to remain attentive to the signs that have guided their families for generations. An adult begins describing the track patterns of a grazing animal they observed earlier. They draw simple shapes into the packed earth, letting the firelight illuminate each line. The children lean forward, tracing the shapes with curious eyes. The adult explains how the depth of a track changes with weather, how the spacing reveals the animal's pace, and how fresh snow can hide or reveal clues. These lessons are given slowly, with pauses that allow the children to reflect. Nothing is rushed. The quietness of the shelter supports the learning process, creating a space where the children absorb knowledge with the same ease that embers drift upward into the warm air. Another adult shares a soft explanation about weather shifts, pointing to faint movements in the smoke rising above the fire. They teach how subtle changes can indicate the wind's direction, and how that direction helps determine the safest path for travel. The children look upward, following the trails of smoke as it curls and bends. The adults describe how clouds behave before snowfall, how the temperature changes when dew gathers on plants, and how morning frost patterns can reveal where animals rested during the night. The lessons are practical, grounded, and deeply tied to survival, yet delivered with the gentleness of a bedtime story. A quiet reminder settles into the narrative, encouraging the listener to relax their breathing and let their mind drift slowly, mirroring the calm listening posture of the children in the shelter. The growing stillness in the space echoes outward, whispering softly for the listener to ease deeper into rest. The stories shift toward plants, their uses, their dangers, and their seasons. Adults hold dried stems collected earlier and explain how to identify similar plants in the wild. They teach children which roots provide nourishment, which leaves soothe discomfort, and which berries must be avoided. These teachings are grounded in experience, learned through many journeys across the plains. The children hold the plants gently, feeling the textures and inhaling their faint scents. Hands pass the dried pieces around, letting small fingers learn through touch. The shelter glows warmly as these lessons unfold. As the night deepens, the adults describe tools used in earlier times, showing how certain designs evolved from observing the land. They show older pieces with worn edges, explaining why specific shapes work better for scraping hides or carving wood. The children listen with fascination, learning how improvement comes from practice and careful observation rather than speed. The adults remind them that every tool begins as raw material shaped through steady effort, just as skills grow gradually from repeated practice. Another microloop glides softly into the moment, inviting the listener to let go of tension in the chest and allow thoughts to drift gently like the fire's glow moving across the shelter walls. The rhythm of teaching becomes a soft lullaby of knowledge and warmth. The stories continue, now shifting toward navigating the land. Adults use stones on the ground to represent hills, rivers, and valleys. They show how to choose paths that protect against wind, how to find water sources hidden beneath snow, and how to recognize resting ground that hints at animal presence. These demonstrations feel like puzzles slowly unfolding, giving children the confidence to one day guide their families through similar landscapes. Their eyes shine with curiosity as they imagine themselves stepping into those future roles. Children occasionally ask questions in hushed tones, their voices barely louder than the crackling fire. Adults answer with patience, shaping each explanation in simple language. Questions are welcomed rather than dismissed, reinforcing the idea that understanding grows from curiosity. This quiet exchange strengthens trust within the group, deepening the bond between generations. The fire continues burning steadily, sending flickering patterns across the walls. Adults begin sharing stories of earlier journeys, describing distant landscapes shaped by ice, long plains where herds once roamed, and rivers that froze into silent pathways in winter. These accounts are not meant to impress but to record memory, preserving the knowledge of places they may not visit again. The children listen with wide eyes, absorbing not just the details but the tone, calm, respectful, observant. Another soft reminder drifts into the narrative, suggesting the listener allow their limbs to feel heavy and grounded, just as the children settle deeper into their hides while listening to stories. Some adults recount moments when their decisions on the land taught them important lessons. They describe times when snow concealed dangers beneath its surface, or when misjudging a trail led to longer journeys. These stories are delivered without fear or blame. They simply show how experience shapes wisdom. Children learn that mistakes are part of the process, and that caution and attention can guide them towards safer outcomes. A few adults begin demonstrating knots made from plant fibers, showing how different weaves serve different purposes. Children practice tying simple loops, their small hands fumbling but persevering. Adults correct them gently, celebrating progress rather than perfection. These knots may later secure bundles, support shelter frames, or reinforce tool bindings. The act of tying becomes a lesson in both patience and practical skill. A microloop reminder surfaces again, encouraging the listener to let their mind soften and flow seamlessly with the slow cadence of instruction and storytelling. The lessons shift to interpreting the movements of herds in the distance. Adults describe how animals choose paths based on wind direction, terrain, and food availability. They explain how following herds too closely can be dangerous, but observing from afar can reveal essential information. Children listen attentively, imagining the silent journey of animals across snowy plains. Their understanding deepens, shaped by these quiet teachings. Adults now discuss cooperation, how each member of the group contributes to survival. They explain that knowledge shared among many creates strength and resilience. Children are reminded that unity is essential, and that their role, no matter how small, supports the group's well-being. These teachings help shape values rooted in mutual care rather than individual achievement. The fire crackles again, releasing a burst of gentle warmth. Adults shift slightly, adjusting hides around their shoulders. The children lean closer, comforted by the combined warmth of bodies and fire. The atmosphere becomes even softer, as if the shelter breathes in harmony with its occupants. The families feel settled, grounded in the rhythm of shared learning. Another soft reminder enters the story, guiding the listener toward deeper relaxation, allowing any tension to dissolve as naturally as embers fall into ash. Adults move toward discussing safe shelters and temporary resting spots encountered during travel. They explain how certain rock formations offer protection from harsh winds, and how snowdrifts can signal areas that are unstable. Children absorb these warnings with serious attention, understanding that this knowledge protects not only them but everyone they travel with. The teaching is calm, steady, and free of fear, emphasizing awareness rather than anxiety. The story is slow as fatigue begins to settle over the group. Children's eyes grow heavy, their bodies relaxing into the warmth of the hides. Adults notice the shift and begin easing their tone, letting the stories drift into quieter reflections about daily life, reminders of tasks, or memories of peaceful moments spent on the land. These final fragments of teaching are soft, almost whispered, shaped by the approaching rest. As the firelight dims slightly, adults hum low tones that are not songs but gentle vibrations meant to soothe the children into sleep. These sounds carry no particular meaning. They simply offer comfort, echoing the steady rhythm of breathing. Children settle deeper, their bodies sinking into calmness. Another microloop reminder encourages the listener to allow their mind to float gently on the quiet flow of the narrative, welcomed deeper into rest. The final teachings of the evening become indistinct, blending with the crackle of the fire and the slow settling of the shelter. Adults finish their soft explanations, letting silence take its place naturally. In this moment, the shelter feels wrapped in tranquility, shaped by knowledge shared peacefully and received with trust. And as the night settles fully around them, the families rest in the warmth of their shared wisdom. The stories have served their purpose, and the calm remains, stretching quietly into the long hours ahead without needing any firm conclusion. The early morning after a night of rest brings a sense of quiet purpose to the shelter as families begin their slow, steady work of maintaining their home. The shelter stands as a careful blend of natural materials shaped through patient hands, branches arranged to form a sturdy frame, hides stretched to insulate against the cold, and earthen layers packed tightly to block the wind. Its presence is not a fortress but a practical refuge, made possible through the natural design woven into the world. As light begins to seep through small openings, adults rise and assess what needs reinforcing. The cold season demands vigilance, and the group understands that maintaining shelter is a continuous process rather than a single task. Children sit nearby, still wrapped in furs, watching with interest as adults prepare to strengthen the space that keeps them warm and safe. Adults begin by inspecting the structure from the outside. They run hands along the hides, checking for areas stiffened by frost or loosened by shifting winds. These coverings protect the interior from drafts, and even the smallest gap must be corrected to prevent heat loss. The adults move slowly, feeling for changes in texture that signal where reinforcement is needed. Children follow at a respectful distance, observing how adults listen to the materials, responding to subtle clues revealed by touch. When a loose section is found, adults carefully pull it taut and secure it with braided fibers prepared during earlier evenings. This quiet repair work reflects not only their skill but their respect for the elements, understanding that surviving the cold requires harmony with the environment rather than defiance. Inside the shelter, another group examines the wooden frame that supports the structure. These branches were selected for their flexibility and strength, shaped into place with deliberate bends that allow the shelter to withstand shifting snows. Adults press gently against each section, testing for cracks or strain. The firelight flickers across the frame, revealing shadows that help identify where pressure needs redistributing. When necessary, they add new supports, thin branches woven into the existing structure to improve stability. The children observe quietly, learning that maintaining shelter involves both understanding materials and responding to the daily changes brought by the cold. This work becomes a living lesson in patience, attentiveness, and cooperation. A gentle microloop reminder drifts into the story, encouraging the listener to breathe slowly and let the rhythm of steady work soften their thoughts. The calm maintenance of the shelter invites a sense of grounding, easing tension in the body. Near the shelter's entrance, adults examine the ground to ensure it remains even and insulated. Packed earth can shift after long nights, especially when frost settles deeply. They smooth uneven patches and adjust layers of hides laid beneath sleeping areas. These hides serve as essential insulation, protecting against the cold seeping up from the ground. Adults lift each layer carefully, shaking out accumulated frost before placing it back. Children assist by brushing off small clumps of ice, their movements echoing the deliberate motions of the adults. These tasks may seem small, but they contribute meaningfully to the group's comfort and safety, turning maintenance into a shared responsibility. Inside the shelter, adults begin repairing the seams of hides used as inner walls. These seams, tightened with plant fibers or leather strips, must remain firm to withstand shifting temperatures. Adults examine each seam closely, tightening knots and replacing worn bindings. Children hold the spare fibers, handing them over when needed. The fire's warmth softens the hides, making them easier to adjust. Adults take advantage of this moment, knowing that repairs done now will last longer. This patient attention to detail highlights how the environment itself shapes daily rhythms, allowing the group to use natural conditions to their advantage. Outside again, adults assess the smoke vent above the fire pit. This opening allows smoke to escape without letting too much cold air in. Adjusting it requires precision. They test the airflow with small handfuls of dried grass, watching how the smoke travels upward. If the vent is too wide, the cold seeps in, too narrow, and smoke lingers inside. With careful movements, they secure the vent with additional fibers, balancing airflow and warmth. The children watch closely, learning how even invisible elements like air must be managed with care. The quietness surrounding the shelter accentuates the subtle sounds of the adjustments, adding to the peaceful rhythm of the morning. Another soft reminder flows into the narrative, inviting the listener to let their shoulders loosen, allowing the steady pace of shelter maintenance to ease the mind. Adults now gather fresh snow to pack around the outer edges of the shelter. This snow serves as natural insulation, filling gaps and reinforcing structural strength. They shovel it gently into place, patting it down with gloved hands. Children join in, delighted to help shape the snowy walls. The process feels calming, almost playful, yet deeply practical. The packed snow provides a barrier against harsh winds, enhancing the shelter's warmth. The adults show how to apply snow evenly, explaining how uneven distribution can lead to melt or collapse. Children learn through touch and observation, feeling the weight and texture of snow as it transforms from powdery to firm under pressure. Inside the shelter, the fire is tended carefully to maintain a consistent warmth. Adults add small pieces of wood gathered earlier, arranging them to burn steadily rather than quickly. They gently shift embers to ensure even heat. The fire's glow continues to illuminate the space, casting warm light across the floor. Children sit near the fire, hands extended to feel its gentle heat. Adults explain how different types of wood burn at different rates, teaching the children to recognize the qualities of each. These lessons blend naturally with the maintenance work, creating a balanced rhythm of learning and doing. Nearby, adults repair simple tools that assist with shelter upkeep, digging sticks, scraping tools, and woven cords. They inspect each piece, strengthening bindings and smoothing rough edges. Children gather scraps of wood and fibers, helping to stay organized. The tools are stored near the entrance, ready for future use. This constant cycle of checking and repairing reflects a lifestyle built around attentiveness and adaptation. Nothing is left to chance. Everything is shaped through cooperation. Another microloop reminder enters gently, asking the listener to allow the breath to deepen and the mind to release any lingering tension. The soft, repetitive actions of the group echo the quieting of the listener's own thoughts. As repairs continue, adults take a moment to kneel outside the shelter and listen to the wind. Its direction and strength influence how the shelter must be reinforced. They tilt their heads slightly, eyes closed, letting the sound guide their assessment. Children observe in silence, learning that understanding the environment requires more than sight. The wind carries information, warnings, opportunities, and subtle hints about changes in temperature. Adults return inside with this knowledge, adjusting hide coverings or shifting supports to prepare for the weather ahead. Some adults begin weaving new mats from dried grasses gathered the previous day. These mats serve multiple functions. They insulate the floor, provide comfort for rest, and protect hides from moisture. The weaving process is repetitive and soothing, with each strand passing over and under in a steady rhythm. Children watch the pattern emerge, mesmerized by the slow formation of the mat. Adults explain the importance of tight weaving, ensuring durability and warmth. The finished mats are placed neatly around the shelter, adding both practicality and comfort. Inside the shelter, adults also inspect the fire pit itself. They remove excess ash and reposition stones to improve heat distribution. This careful tending ensures that the fire burns cleanly, producing warmth without excessive smoke. Children assist by carrying small stones, learning how even minor adjustments can influence the fire's behavior. These tasks deepen their understanding of how natural elements respond to human interaction, fostering respect for the balance required to sustain warmth safely. Another soft reminder drifts into the story, inviting the listener to sink deeper into ease, letting the steady maintenance work soothe the mind like a slow-moving stream. Adults turn their attention to storing tools and materials in organized spaces within the shelter. They place sharpened stones in pouches, hang woven cords along wooden pegs, and distribute bundles of grasses evenly. Children help by sorting smaller items, matching pieces of similar size or texture. This organization ensures that the group can access essential items quickly, reducing stress during harsh weather. Everything has its place, shaped by the natural logic of their daily life. The shelter becomes not just a building but a system, structured, purposeful, and calm. Outside, adults check the nearby area for tracks in the snow that may indicate animal activity. While this task relates to safety and food sources, it also informs shelter maintenance. Fresh tracks may signal the need to reinforce certain areas or gather additional materials. Children follow the adults carefully, learning how to read these signs. They see how the environment offers guidance even in subtle markings. After this assessment, the group returns to the shelter with renewed understanding of the land's movements. Inside again, adults stretch hides near the fire to soften them. Once pliable, these hides can be used to replace worn coverings or create new layers for insulation. Adults hold the hides close to the warmth, turning them slowly to prevent scorching. Children touch the softened sections, learning how temperature affects flexibility. These hides help shape the shelter into a balanced space, warm, durable, and adaptable. The process demonstrates how natural materials can be transformed through thoughtful effort. Another microloop reminder appears, encouraging the listener to let the breath deepen and allow the body to settle further into restfulness. As the morning transitions toward midday, adults begin final checks around the shelter. They listen for creaks in the frame, check for drafts along the edges, and test the tension of hide coverings. Once satisfied, they step back and admire the work accomplished. The shelter feels renewed, stronger, warmer, safer. Children smile proudly, knowing they contributed in meaningful ways. This shared accomplishment reinforces unity within the group, reminding them that survival is not achieved through individual strength but through collective effort. The fire continues to glow softly, its warmth spreading evenly across the interior. Adults tidy the remaining materials, storing them for future repairs. The shelter now rests in quiet readiness for the next stretch of cold weather. Children gather near the fire, comforted by the warm air rising gently toward the ceiling. The space feels lived in and peaceful, shaped by careful maintenance and thoughtful attention. As midday settles fully, the group pauses to rest, the tasks of the morning complete. The shelter stands quietly, holding warmth and calm within its walls. Adults sit together, sharing soft moments of stillness, while children relax at their sides. The environment feels stable, grounded by the work they have done. The story eases here into a soft pause, needing no firm conclusion, just the gentle continuation of life's steady rhythm. The fire becomes the quiet center of the shelter as evening settles over the Ice Age plains. Its warm glow softens every movement inside, casting gentle gold across the faces of those gathered around it. Adults sit in a loose circle, easing into the slower rhythm that follows a long day of walking, gathering, and repairing. The fire's warmth spreads gradually, made possible through the natural laws placed within the world, offering comfort to tired muscles and calming restless thoughts. Children lean closer, wrapped in hides, their eyelids growing heavier as the gentle flicker fills their vision. This is a time not for work or planning, but simply for being together. The fire hums quietly, anchoring the space with warmth and familiarity. Adults occasionally shift pieces of wood, guiding the fire to burn steadily. These adjustments are done with care, an understanding passed down through countless evenings spent managing flames for heat and light. Sparks rise briefly, then fade into the still air. The fire does not dominate the shelter, it supports it, offering a consistent glow that allows families to unwind. Children watch these careful adjustments, learning how to manage fire safely, how to sense when it needs more fuel, and how to respect its warmth. The mood is peaceful, shaped by the slow interplay of shadow and light. Another soft reminder drifts into the moment, inviting the listener to breathe gently, allowing the body to sink into the same calmness settling over the shelter. The warmth of the fire becomes a cue for rest. Adults begin small tasks that suit the quiet atmosphere. Some smooth edges of tools, others check bindings or organize materials gathered earlier. These actions require little concentration, allowing minds to wander peacefully. The firelight glints off stone edges, creating soft reflections that dance across the floor. Children observe these tasks without pressure to participate, absorbing knowledge through proximity. Their breathing grows softer, mirroring the steady work happening around them. Stories sometimes rise in gentle tones, not dramatic tales, but small recollections from earlier seasons or simple explanations of tools, animals, or plants. The shelter fills with low voices, soothing in their rhythm. Children listen with half-closed eyes, drifting between attention and drowsiness. The stories blend with the fire's crackling, forming a soft tapestry of sound that helps the mind settle deeper into calm. Adults share only what feels natural, letting the evening unfold without structure. Another micro-loop reminder settles into the narrative, guiding the listener to release tension from the shoulders, letting warmth flow through the body just as it flows through the shelter. The fire continues its gentle pattern, breathing warmth into the space. Adults adjust hides near the entrance to keep drafts out. Children instinctively draw closer to the fire, comforted by its steady presence. Quiet laughter occasionally rises from small interactions, but even this remains soft, blending easily into the peaceful environment. Every sound feels cushioned, as if the night itself encourages gentleness. Outside the shelter, the wind brushes against the hides with a muted whisper. Inside, however, the warmth holds firm. Adults take a moment to listen to the outside world, checking for shifting conditions. Once assured everything is calm, they return to their relaxed positions around the fire. Children rest their heads on furs, letting their thoughts drift. The shelter feels like a cocoon woven from firelight, hide, and quiet companionship. Another soft reminder invites the listener to ease their breathing, matching the slow rise and fall of the adults resting inside the shelter. Some adults use this time to weave simple cords or repair clothing seams. Their hands move slowly, guided by muscle memory. The firelight illuminates each fiber, revealing tiny details that would be lost without its glow. Children watch these motions, learning how patience shapes even the smallest tasks. The weaving creates a soft rhythm that blends with the fire's gentle crackle, reinforcing the soothing pace of the evening. The meals they enjoyed earlier still warm their bodies, deepening their sense of comfort. Adults occasionally sip melted snow warmed by the fire, easing dryness in their throats. Children mimic them with small cup-like stones, feeling the warmth slip through their chest as they swallow. This simple act reinforces the quiet intimacy of the evening, creating a sense of shared peace. Another micro-loop slips softly through the narrative, inviting the listener to let their mind grow quieter, allowing the warmth of the story to settle deeper into their thoughts. Adults now turn their attention to arranging bedding for the night. They roll out hides softened earlier, layering them to provide insulation from the cold earth. Children help by smoothing the edges or fetching small pieces of grass mats. These preparations happen slowly, without rush. The fire glows warmly beside them, offering steady light as they create comfortable resting spaces. Once bedding is arranged, adults sit again to enjoy the last moments of wakefulness. No one speaks unless necessary. The silence feels natural, shaped by the long day behind them and the comfort of the warm fire before them. Children fight sleep a little, blinking slowly, drawn toward the flames but losing focus. The fire's crackle seems to lull them deeper into quiet. A final gentle reminder encourages the listener to soften their breath and allow their body to grow heavier, just as the children drift toward rest beside the fire. As the night deepens, adults place smaller pieces of wood onto the embers to ensure the fire remains warm but not overly bright. The shelter dims slightly, becoming more restful. Shadows grow longer, merging softly with the walls. Children slip into sleep, their breathing steady and soft. Adults lie down near them, satisfied with the day's work and the calmness the fire provides. The shelter grows still. Only the faintest crackle of embers remains. Adults close their eyes, allowing the warmth to carry them into rest. There is no urgency, no final task to complete. The world outside continues quietly, while inside, peace settles fully. And the night stretches gently around the families, holding them in a soft, quiet embrace shaped by firelight, warmth, and the steady rhythm of rest, needing no strong ending to close the moment. As the last hours of night stretch over the Ice Age plains, the shelter rests in a pocket of warmth and muted sound. Families begin stirring in the early quiet, waking slowly from the deep rest brought by the evening's fire. The air inside is still warm, held by the natural laws that allow embers to glow long after flames fade. Adults rise first, moving gently so children can continue resting. Their movements feel like part of the night's rhythm rather than a disruption of it. These early moments shape the calm foundation of the new day. Adults check the embers, nudging them with practice motions to coax a soft glow back into flame. They add thin pieces of wood, watching the fire respond in small breaths of light. The children begin waking, stretching beneath their hides. Their faces show a mix of sleepiness and comfort. The warmth of the fire wraps around them once again, smoothing the transition from rest to early morning awareness. The shelter brightens just enough to reveal familiar shapes and textures. A gentle reminder drifts into the space, encouraging the listener to breathe slowly, letting the mind remain soft as the families begin their quiet preparations. Adults now check the tools crafted the night before. They lift each piece, testing weight, balance, and sharpness. These tools will support gathering, repairing, and protecting throughout the day. Children watch, still wrapped in their hides, observing how responsibility begins long before stepping outside. The calm repetition of tool inspection reinforces the sense that each day is built on small, steady practices rather than sudden decisions. The shelter feels alive with quiet purpose. Some adults begin packing small pouches with dried food gathered earlier. They divide portions evenly, ensuring everyone receives enough nourishment for the day's journey. Children help where they can, handing over small bundles or tying knots in cords. These preparations create a subtle hum of activity, soft enough not to disturb the lingering quiet of morning. The fire continues warming the space, setting the tone for deliberate, thoughtful movement. The adults then shift attention to repairing clothing for the day. They check seams, adjust layers, and tie loose fibers with gentle precision. Clothing must protect against shifting winds and deep cold. Children imitate these motions, tugging at small knots or smoothing furs, learning how to prepare themselves for the outside world. The morning remains peaceful, shaped by repetition and routine. Another microloop reminder encourages the listener to relax the shoulders and let calmness settle more deeply. Adults open the shelter flaps slightly to gauge the weather. A faint draft enters, carrying the crisp scent of snow. The sky beyond is pale, still holding the softness of early dawn. They step out briefly, reading the landscape for signs of movement or weather shifts. When they return inside, their movements feel assured. They know the land well, and their decisions come from years of experience blended with quiet observation. Children begin rising fully now, rubbing sleep from their eyes. Adults help them dress in layers, securing ties and adjusting coverings. These small acts of care reinforce unity within the group. The children begin to feel the calm readiness that shapes each morning, learning through touch and repetition. The shelter brightens gradually as the fire continues to strengthen. Another soft reminder invites the listener to breathe evenly, matching the gentle pace of the families preparing for the day. The group now prepares water skins, filtering melted snow through simple natural materials. The process is slow but familiar. The children often assist by gathering small amounts of clean snow, learning that water must be prepared with attention, even in a frozen world. The adults ensure every container is secure, knowing water will be needed as the day unfolds across long stretches of land. Inside the shelter, adults review the direction they discussed the previous evening. Quiet nods confirm the plan. They gather small bundles, materials for shelter repairs, cords, and carved implements, and place them near the entrance. The children, now fully awake, help organize these bundles into shapes easy to carry. The shelter fills with a mood of gentle anticipation, not urgency. The fire burns steadily, its warmth holding the final layers of night at bay. Adults begin covering the fire pit for safe travel, ensuring embers are extinguished or preserved depending on the group's next destination. These decisions are made with care, knowing the fire's usefulness depends on thoughtful management. The children observe, learning how to balance safety and preservation. Another microloop reminder slips softly into the narrative, guiding the listener to let the breath extend comfortably, allowing the body to sink deeper into rest. Before stepping out, Adults take time to secure the shelter from shifting winds. They adjust hides, tighten bindings, and ensure that any remaining materials are stored safely. Even if the shelter is temporary, it must withstand weather changes until they return or choose to dismantle it. Children watch with quiet admiration, understanding how structure and care protect the group. The families now gather near the entrance, ready to step into the pale morning light. Adults assess the horizon once more, scanning for animal movement or weather signals. Children hold hands or small tools, absorbing the calm, steady presence of their elders. The atmosphere feels unified, shaped by shared purpose and steady cooperation. The group steps out slowly, the cold brushing against their faces. Their breath forms small clouds that drift upward, merging with the faint morning fog. The plains stretch ahead, wide and quiet, inviting another day of movement and discovery. Each person walks with an understanding that survival is built on unity, patience, and awareness. Another soft reminder encourages the listener to release any lingering tension, letting the story guide them deeper into calm. As the group begins their journey, they leave behind the shelter that kept them warm through the night. Its shape blends into the quiet landscape, a testament to the steady work that made it strong. The families walk together in a loose line, each step purposeful but unhurried. Their footprints form a soft pattern across the snow. The morning unfolds gently. The world is cold, yet peaceful. Adults speak in low voices, sharing details about the land ahead. Children listen as they walk, learning the rhythms that will one day guide them as leaders of their own families. The path stretches forward, touched by pale sunlight and framed by open sky. As the families disappear into the distance, the shelter behind them stands still in the early quiet. The day has begun, not with excitement, but with steady intention. And now, as the story draws to its close, a gentle reflection settles in. This glimpse into Ice Age life reminds us how survival was shaped not by force, but by cooperation, patience, and quiet understanding of the land. These families moved through their world with calm awareness, adapting through shared effort and steady routines. Their days were simple, their nights warm, and their lives woven with unspoken wisdom. Thank you for listening to this peaceful journey into the past. May the calm of their world bring ease to your own, and may your rest be gentle and warm.